Hello and welcome back to Silverstone. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after, I guess, officially meeting the cast. We are the MC, obviously, who is a hyena, who is going back home for... don't really know yet. I mean, he does say that he wants answers for what happened in that last week that he has no memory of, but, it kind of seems like there's more to that than just that. We met their stepbrother, Mason. We met their friend, Jake. We met their other friend, Kelsey. June, the badger. I think you want to say Asiatic badger? Because they're brown, and I think that the Asian badger is, like, brown colored. And then there is the bear, starts with an S. I forgot their name. But yeah, those are the main cast members. We got little glimpses into their personalities and into what might be going on, I guess, with them, at least on the surface. But yeah, we will be seeing a bit more, about them now. Anyway, so they're about to explore the town, if I recall correctly, which is like only 50 people. Anyway, so without further ado, let us continue Silverstone, or at least the first chapter. Chapter 1, Reunion. Predictably, the ride back to Silverstone is much more strenuous with Mason behind the wheel. My nails dig into the armrest with each bump in the road, but the dog still wears that goofy smile on his face. The sunlight glints off his teeth. His smile is a bit too bright, if you ask me. Meanwhile, Jake hangs on for dear life in the back. We stuffed him there by default due to a lack of space. The truck has no room compared to Kelsey's SUV. I wince just thinking about Silas or June being stuck back there earlier. Mason looks up at the raccoon in the rearview mirror, tapping his fingernails rhythmically on the wheel. So... what happened? Jake sits upright in the middle, exiting his slouch. He seems just as confused as I am about the question, but I have a hunch about where it's heading. What you mean? You and Kelsey. The dog shrugs his shoulders in an awkward fashion, and I can see sweat starting to break his forehead. For being such a sociable person, Mason is terrible at reading the room. Jake returns to his slumped position, his face morphing from irritated to downright pissed. She just seemed a bit upset about the rooms is all. Man, I don't want to fucking talk about it. What happened between Kelsey and me is between us. I can accept that, Jake, but... The raccoon raises an eyebrow as he waits for me to go on. He doesn't look mad anymore, but his expression is hard to read. I feel scared that I just misstepped again like I did with June. This does affect us all, you know. Not really. I put my head in my hands, frustrated at my own vagueness. A bump in the road causes me to almost crush my nose, and I let out a small whimper. Hey, you alright? Yeah. Look, what I mean is, if this isn't addressed, something is gonna happen. I want to enjoy this weekend. Can you two talk it out or something? Jake is silent for a moment, so I look in the mirror. I expect to see him pouting like a small kid who didn't get the toy that he wanted for Christmas. To my surprise, however, Jake only looks a bit sullen. He pulls out his phone and taps away at the screen before he slips it back into his pocket with irritation. My guess is that the back signal is a culprit there. I'll try to talk to her tonight. Cool. Thanks, man. I reach back and try to pat his shoulder to comfort him, but I accidentally hit his head instead. Hey! Sorry. It's chill. The rest of the ride goes by as smooth as it can get, with the bumps and all. This time, my gut churns at the sight of our old neighborhood. Desolate is the only word that comes to mind when I look at my old house. The decrepit appearance even wipes the smile off of Mason's face when he finally looks up from shutting the door. It doesn't help that clouds have started to obscure the sun that was so present on the drive back here. Hey, a little help? Jake waves his hand in my direction, his body stuck in between the seats. Oh shit, sorry. I gently push the raccoon back into his seat before I pull the lever to slide my own forward. Jake pushes his way out, letting out a huge breath, as if he wasn't able to breathe. Phew. Thanks, man. Jake unexpectedly gives me a hug before he stops himself short. He tilts his head down as he follows Mason over to the others, who have already arrived in Kelsey's SUV. Silas and Kelsey are clawing at their arms, the cheetah noticeably shivering even with their jacket on. I join the others, patting June's shoulder as I arrive. The badger jumps before looking back at me nervously. Is it just me or is it unusually cold? I rub my arm, trying to warm it up. The fact that even Silas is struggling to keep warm is a strange sign. Yeah, it's freezing. I don't remember it ever getting this chilly when we lived here. Global warming, maybe? It's the middle of summer, Mason. If anything, it'd be warmer. Still, your house. Our attention turns back to the building, dilapidated from years of wear and tear. I can remember Mason and I running through the sprinklers there like it was yesterday. Of course, I can't forget Dad teaching Mason how to ride a bike in the street, and Mason needing to go to the dentist afterwards. Now our home is just a shell of its former self, a body full of bones but no organs to help it run. I guess we should have expected this, but it's still weird seeing it broken down like this. We'll always have the memories though, right? I try to ignore the poor choice of words. Silas chimes in, distracting us from the awkward situation. I think I saw my house down the street earlier. I almost want to protest to save ourselves from another depressing visit. Still, I cannot but think about why Silas would want to check out his own rundown home. I guess we could check it out. Are you going to be okay? It looked fine when we drove past it. Well, if it's okay with everyone else. Despite my reservations, I clam up. The others just nod in agreement. I suppose everyone feels like this whole thing is a sensitive subject that we have to tiptoe around. Okay, it's not too far down, if you guys remember. Thankfully I do. Silas would always walk to our place after school, sometimes bringing games over. I think I'd cry if I forgot where my friends lived. I walk alongside June as we make a turn closer to the resort part of Silverstone. The badger seems incredibly on edge, grasping the sleeves of his hoodie tight. There is a pause in the air as we walk. Mason distracts Jake and Silas counts the houses as he searches for his. Not wanting to startle June, I lean over and whisper, avoiding any physical contact. Hey, are you alright? No. Well, yes. But, it's just... I wait for him to continue, but the badger stops next to a putrid yellow house that I remember Jake throwing eggs at once. June motions me to lean forward, and he cups his hand around my ear. Why is the town so quiet? Is that all? I speak a bit too loudly as the others turn to face us. It doesn't seem to be interesting enough to draw them from their conversations, though. I mean, there was an exodus 15 years ago. It's not surprising that the town is so dead. I can see June's fingers shuffle around his pocket and hear the sound of changing rubber bands against each other. I guess you're right. It's just creepy, that's all. The badger looks down, embarrassed, and I cannot but scream internally at myself. Somehow I did it again. I mean, yeah, it's creepy. I think I'm just not as affected by those things, maybe? June appears to brighten up a bit at that, a small smile cracking on his face. It's strange. The old June smile looked natural and constant. This one, though, resembles that of a mask, and all I can do is think about whether it's fake or not. My thoughts are interrupted by a loud yell ringing through the air. It seems that I'm not the only one affected, as June's eyes widen. We found it. June calms down a bit, but I can still see the badger shaking a little. I guess we better go then? Yeah. The others are gathered in front of a familiar yet different house. I'm shocked that Silas was able to recognize it considering the new paint job. Sure enough, it's his old home. Unlike mine, their house is well maintained, minus some botched gardening. I would not have chosen that color. Jake lets out a small chuckle at her statement, but I think everyone agrees with her. The disgusting yellow that's mixing with the color that the previous owner chose doesn't compare to the sky blue Silas's dad had painted before either of the other owners. Silas's expression isn't one of nostalgia, though. It's full of sadness and melancholy. I can understand why. I suppose he expected to get some closure by seeing the house, but not everything can heal past wounds. I decide to intervene before things get more depressing. Is there anywhere else that we want to go to while we're here? Kelsey's face turns dark and she crosses her arms tight. Jake looks away from me, giving me a shrug as he kicks a stone in the middle of the street. I don't have anywhere else that I want to see. Same. I'd rather head to the resort. June looks unsure about what he wants to do. And for once, so does Mason. The dog's face is stressed in discomfort, probably at the fact that instead of a fun stroll through memory lane, we're all standing awkwardly as nostalgia punches us in the gut. I walk over to Silas, rubbing his shoulder as he continues to stare at the house. He's relatively composed until he looks down at me, which is when he jumps in surprise. His attention wasn't in the conversation at hand, causing him to flail and bat at my arm like a spider burrowed into his fur. Sorry, I just wanted to check on you. The bear looks down, his ears flushing a deep red. He scratches where I had placed my hand on him, with a look of comfort yet confusion. I'm okay. Nothing I can't handle. You sure? There was a moment of silence between us as the bear searches inside his head. The others look a bit more impatient than before, almost uncomfortable. Yeah, I'll be good. Somehow I highly doubt that. Jake steps in, patting us both on the back and trying to put on a happy smile. Come on, let's head over to the resort. The raccoon pulls us along before Silas and I can get a word in. I'm beginning to get annoyed about being everyone's toy to pull around. Still, I would rather be anywhere than this boulevard of shattered dreams, especially when I notice an old couple eyeing us with disdain. Just once I would like to run into someone else our age in this town. Chills run through my body when we arrive at the tourist trap part of town. It's uncanny how everything is identical to my dream. The only noticeable difference is the cliff far off. Sure enough, no lighthouse sits on it. Just an empty field of nothing. This place has really been let go. I notice the sadness in Kelsey's face as she observes the nearly empty streets, and I can't help but think about how predictable this all is. Yeesh. I thought things would be bad, but I didn't think that it would be this bad, you know? Mason inspects the phone booth that I used in my dream, his ears and tail falling. Even the door being broken is accurate to my dream, although Mason makes quick work of it, faster than I did. Jake snickers in the background while Kelsey frowns with disapproval at my brother. He carefully puts the door back in place, leaving his hands out in case it falls over. He wears a sheepish smile as he saunters back over to us, his hands rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. June and Silas don't seem to have noticed the commotion. The two are instead looking at the old shops. The badger in particular eyes a sea salt ice cream parlor, fitted with rainbow poles and all. Of course, Jake notices his curiosity and seizes the opportunity. Anyone want some ice cream? I'm paying. I'm good, actually. My appetite is kind of gone at the moment. Kelsey's slightly embittered tone makes me remember the text Jake attempted to send to her. The raccoon's nose scrunches before he turns to Mason. I'm good too, actually. I hit my dairy limit for the day. You're lactose intolerant now? Just a bit, but too much still makes me sick. Silas and June, however, seem to be up for a cone or two. June brings his own wallet out before heading in himself. He never did depend on others, I guess. True. I'll take you up on your offer though, Jake. Same. I want to save some money for souvenirs. I'm reminded of how expensive a towel in my dream was, if that was anything to go by in reality. If we can afford them. The raccoon lets his fang hang out as he smiles before turning to the big bear next to him. It's amusing to watch him look up at Silas now. Anything you want in particular? I'm fine with vanilla or strawberry. Jake tilts his head, unimpressed with the bear's decision. Why'd you go for the boring flavors, man? We're on vacation. Be a little adventurous, yeah? Silas grips the handle of his bag. I remember him choosing all the wild flavors as a kid, now that I think about it. I guess at some point he got a little burned out on cotton candy and strawberry Rocky Road gummy bear deluxe type stuff. Well, what are you getting? Peanut butter and jelly. That's not that adventurous either, to be honest. Is too. The raccoon finally turns to me. I realize that I haven't made a decision yet, too entertained by the two bickering. What about you, man? What's your pick? I kind of already know what he picks if you pick adventurous. I want to see what he does by familiar. I'm still a bit nauseous from seeing all that mold on the pizza, to be honest. I'd rather just get something that I know I like, for now. Boo. Boring. Despite the insult levied at both of us, Silas lets out a laugh. A rather loud one, too. It's almost weird hearing him at that volume. I'll be right back, you two. No rough housing while I'm gone. June exits the shop right as Jake enters, the raccoon almost knocking the cone out of the poor badger's hand. Still, June looks satisfied with his ice cream, though it's a bit tough to make out what flavor it is. I could guess that it's too yellow to be vanilla, but not yellow enough to be lemon. What flavor did you get? Sweet corn. Huh? Sweet corn. Try it. You'll like it. I want to decline, but the melted cream all over June's nose takes the word no out of my vocabulary. I take a small lick and Silas does the same. Well? The badger looks at us expectantly, but there's not much to really talk about with it. It sure tastes like corn. Silas turns to me as June returns to his ice cream, appreciating it more than us peasants ever could. You didn't have to get a normal flavor just because I did, by the way. Huh? Oh no, I really just got it because my stomach still isn't over that shit pizza. Oh. Jake saves Silas from his predicament. He's somehow managing to hold 3 cones in his hands. He hands the bear his strawberry one with a bit of peanut butter and jelly smeared across it before handing me a vanilla cone. Thanks, man. Anytime. Despite his displeasure with Jake's ice cream merging into his, Silas seems pleased with his treat as well. Jake has already half finished his by the time that I got 3 licks on mine. I have no idea how this raccoon never got a brain freeze as a kid. Hey guys, come check this out! The 4 of us take our attention off of our food and on Kelsey and my brother. Mason waves from across the street further down, beckoning us to come his way. When we arrive next to the duo, I see Mason kneeling by the pavement at a street corner. He grabs me and pulls me into his side, my ice cream almost smearing his shirt before I catch my footing. Kelsey is further along the sidewalk, but she looks just as happy as Mason. The only thing that makes the dog stand out besides his height is the cheetah crossing her arms. She points down with her eyes when I look at her, drawing my attention to what both of them were beaming at. Then I notice it. 6 pairs of hands are imprinted into the concrete, each of varying sizes and species. It doesn't take long to remember when this happened. I didn't think that this would still be here. Yeah, the sidewalk's a bit shit. I would have thought that they would have torn this up already. I still remember that old man letting us put our hands in. We kind of have Silas to thank for that. You fell off your bike trying to stop, right? Silas lets out a loud sigh, his face red with embarrassment. I didn't think that we would have held on to memories in that way. Hey, you were a kid. Plus, they didn't really put up signs or anything. The bear takes his phone out of his bag, unplugging it from his charger. He worms his way through us to get a clear shot of the handprints. Remind me to send this in the group chat later, just in case it does get torn up. I flash a toothy grin at the bear before patting him on the back. He looks caught off guard, but he chuckles nonetheless. It's not a big deal. The gesture is broken off by Mason barreling his way in between us as he steps onto the sidewalk, not on the hands, thankfully. Well, since we're at that turn, do you guys want to just head down this way? I don't see why not. I guess it's okay. June's voice is low and I have to perk my ears up to hear him. I step onto the sidewalk as well when we begin to stroll. However, my ankle buckles within 5 steps of the uneven concrete. Fuck! I clench my eyes shut as I spin backwards to the ground. The fear is worse than the actual fall. My heart races a million miles an hour, but my head is thankfully met with grass and mud instead of the sidewalk. My ankle throbs a bit, but I can tell that it isn't twisted or sprained, just put through the ringer from my foot folding on its side. Shit, Zeke, you okay? I'm dazed, that's for sure. Probably from the shock of it and not actually from hitting my head. I slowly open my eyes. The sun blinds me for a second before a large structure comes into view, like a camera focusing on its subject. The recognition comes in slightly delayed. Maybe it's because of the sun or because I'm still sitting on my ass, but the giant cross is unmistakable. It's a part of the old church that June's family and mine used to attend to when we lived here. The throbbing that was just a dull drum roll in my head grows in intensity when I sit up. Mason brushes grass and dirt off the back of my head, unintentionally making the headache worse. The church has definitely seen better days. I can see newspapers piled up inside, next to the windows, and the lawn hasn't been mowed in a long time. If I didn't know any better, I would say that the paint job on the outside is the same from 15 years ago. Strips of color peel and curl their way off. Some are even chipped away. Despite the pain echoing in my skull, I'm more shocked by the state of the roof. It's covered in a thick layer of moss and branches from years of neglect. Hey, you okay? Shit hurts, but I'll live. I turn my attention back to the church, which Jake waves off. He sneers as he pulls me to my feet, my ankle protesting as I stand up, intensifying the pain. It's nothing major. Oh yeah, this place. I'm honestly not surprised that it's run down. The rumors about it got really bad towards the end. They were weird rumors too. Went from the typical pedophile shit to satanic cold bullcrap pretty fast. Even I thought they were hard to believe at times. I don't know how you three still managed to go there. Can you shut the fuck up? The Badger's hostility stuns us into silence. I completely forgot about June in this whirlwind of chaos. June bares his fangs before grabbing his head. He turns away from the church in what I assume is frustration. Sorry, my head really hurts. It's cool, man. I was saying some nasty shit. I think I'm gonna hang out in the car. I'm just really not feeling well. June starts to walk past me, almost wobbling with each step. He looks pale in the face, almost as if he's gonna vomit. Just go rest, okay? I make sure to whisper so as not to exacerbate his headache. The nod he gives me is weak, and I can tell by his glazed eyes just how out of it he is. To be honest, it might be bad for Zeke to stay out as well. What? I feel fine. Zeke, you hit your head pretty hard and almost rolled your ankle. That kind of stuff isn't a joke. I hit my head on the lawn. I'll be fine. I try to take a step to demonstrate, but Kelsey's point is proven immediately. No pain courses through me, but I definitely feel pressure near my foot. I nearly fall again, but Jake manages to catch me in time. The usual tough guy persona on his face falls as he looks at me. Yeah, I'm with Kelsey. We've seen most of the town anyway, so it's fine to head back. Silas nods in agreement while Mason runs over, offering me his shoulder to lean on. Jake does the same, and I can feel in my gut that this won't turn out well. Kelsey runs over to June, rubbing his back as they walk. She turns over to us, raising her finger with her car keys dangling. We'll catch up later, okay? Maybe if June feels better, we can watch a movie. Silas reluctantly jogs over to the two, waving goodbye to us as he catches up. Although it doesn't take long to reach Mason's truck, each step feels like an eternity to me. The image of the church is plastered into my mind. Unwilling to leave, I cannot but feel like my insides are about to spill out. My spit tastes like metal as Mason helps me up into my seat. Jake pats my shoulder to check if I'm okay. As the ignition starts, I close my eyes, hoping that not seeing the open road will prevent me from actually throwing up on the dashboard. Of course, all this does is to make me focus on my stomach acid jostling. I didn't realize such a minor bump on the head could make me feel this shitty. It only feels like 5 minutes later when Mason parks thankfully. My brother secures me around his shoulder before I even step foot on the pavement. I finally open my eyes, but everything is foggy. Dizziness washes over me as Jake closes the truck door and grabs my other side. Their voices are distant and muffled as if water is swirling in my ears. Even trying to read their lips is hard to do with my blurred vision. Entering the motel room is a nightmare. Hues of brown and red and white mix together as the two bring me over to one of the beds. The cool mattress and pillows offer small relief. Even relaxing slightly causes my jaw to slack, unfortunately letting spit dribble out of my mouth. Mason throws the covers over me as my eyes once again begin to shut. They dim the lights in silence, though I can hear some noises coming from Jake's phone. Despite the discomfort in my head and stomach, it doesn't take long at all for me to fall back to sleep. The thoughts flood my mind, full of guilt. So this is how I'm spending the rest of the first day. I did get what I wanted in the end, I suppose, but this is not how I wanted it to happen. Still, as my body finally relaxes, the world around me melts away, the harsh reality fading into the gentle lull of sleep. Dread overwhelms me as my eyes open. I'm frozen in my seat as I stare at the chair across from me. After internally sobbing at the lack of actual peace, I look around at my surroundings. Sure enough, it's the same room from last night. The stranger from before seems to have been busy as more papers are scattered across the floor. They seem to be covered in a foreign script. A flicker of light in the kitchen and the smell of mint is enough to awaken me, and I attempt to leave my chair. I feel straps pull me back. However, I glance over my hands in confusion. I attempt to slip my arms out of their restraints, but the straps tighten around my wrists to the point that it hurts to try. I kick my legs out as I tug at them, trying to avoid the coffee table in front of me. I'm panicking hard enough to make my foot bang against it, though. While I'm stuck in my fever of attempting to escape, the jackal emerges from the kitchen. So, you're finally in my domain, Ezekiel. The fiend sips their tea from an elegant piece of china before they park their ass in the chair across from me. Their eyes glow with malice, and I fear that this time my exit will be worse than a spiraling chasm of nausea. Oh, don't worry. I'll let you have a little more fun with your friends. After all, it isn't time for the event to begin. Event? Wait, what are you talking about? The jackal growls unimpressed, and I cannot but feel like they're about to throw that cup of peppermint tea right into my face. See, the town did nothing for your memory, did it? No, not really. Pity. I wait for them to continue, but they instead stir the leaves in their teacup, the clanging of the spoon hitting the china reverberating around the room with a sharp cut. The jackal places the cup before me, and to my shock, the tea has vanished from it. Only clumps of wet tea leaves sit in its place. I've studied the art of tasseography many moons ago. They point to the small batch of leaves along the right side of the bottom of the cup. The shape looks like squiggly nonsense to my brain. They look like waves, don't they? Of course, Silverstone is a coastal town, so that's not surprising to see. Their finger glides to a pair of clumps that almost looks like lungs to me. It reminds me of when I almost drowned here last night. This represents the moon, but also introspection. From what you've said, it seems that you have a lot of that to do. The last shape they point out is unmistakable. A chain? It represents the fact that a series of events is about to occur to you. Their outcome? In your hands. The jackal finally looks up from the cup, their shadowy expression almost looking bored. When our eyes meet again, a burning aggression courses through me as if searching for something. The stranger undoes the straps on my wrists, but then they put my head against the backboard of the chair. My fur is matted down from the pressure, and I instinctively rub it back up with a sloppy manner. The next time we meet, Ezekiel, that series of events will have already started. You may get pulled into this realm again before it happens, but you will not see me until the assimilation begins. Assimilation? Wait, what do you mean? Everything suddenly goes silent and dark. The feeling of plunging deep into the dark comes back, and I fear that it's about to swallow me whole. The annoying yet familiar sound of the news broadcast is comforting to me for once, as I lay in the bed with sweat soaking my fur. My first proper view of the motel room reveals a place of chaos. Jake's clothes from yesterday are strewn across the floor, and Mason's breakfast takes over the work desk. There is no sign of the big dog, but Jake is tapping away on his phone on the bed across from mine. Judging from the sheets, I'm guessing that they both slept on that bed while I was asleep and sick. I sit up and pull my shirt off. It reeks of body odor, and I feel sick just smelling my scent. Jake peers over, the attention on his phone now broken. He walks over to me, but strangely his expression isn't cheerful like yesterday. Hey. His tone has a cutting edge to it, irritation slicing through the air. He quickly catches himself before sitting next to me. His nose scrunches up once he gets a whiff of me, though. Oh fuck, man. You reek. My only response is a nervous chuckle, trying not to scratch the back of my head out of fear that it'll make the smell worse by lifting my arms up. Sorry. I didn't mean to sound like an asshole. You feeling any better? I guess. At least I don't feel like vomiting anymore and my foot stopped being sore. This seems to break the raccoon's irritability. As he stands up and pats my shoulder, I can tell by his crooked smile that he's trying to ignore the sweat on his hand. Glad to hear. Jake returns to texting away, or trying to, before I notice a stream of light coming through the curtains. How long did I sleep? Well, it's 10 a.m. right now, so... Wait, what? I can only groan in embarrassment, curling back under the covers before Jake pats my arm. You and June were both really out of it last night, man. If we woke you guys up, I think you'd be worse off today. Wait, June slept through the night too? Yeah, Celis told me that he woke up a few minutes ago. Despite the good news, Jake's frown returns. I'd rather not push the issue though, and instead I hobble out of bed. I'm gonna shower and then we can hang out with the others. Everyone's kind of doing their own shit today, actually. Fuckers are all over the place. Oh. I guess I should have expected this hitch in the plans considering what happened. I cannot but feel like something's off though. Well, do you want to do anything then? Jake scratches behind his head, letting a deep sigh escape him. Now that I'm up, I do notice that he looks kind of tired. I wave my hand in acknowledgement before grabbing a clean shirt, but the raccoon's frown rests upon his face. Maybe later, okay? If you hurry though, you might be able to catch Mason. He's shooting photos on the trail out back. There's a trail behind the... I'm distracted by the raccoon pointing down at me. His eyes are fixated on my arms. The world around me warps as I stare at my wrists, the fur pressed down just like in my nightmare. I can feel my breathing get unsteady and my heartbeat starts to drum louder and louder, consuming my thoughts. Jake brings me back to reality as he gently rocks my shoulder. I look back up at him before returning to my arms. All that entangles me now is a feeling of being dazed and confused. Dude, what's up with your wrists? That doesn't look normal. I must have gripped them while I was asleep. Yeah. That's what happened. Despite the cold air still creeping its way through the area, the harsh sunlight is welcome. Just standing under its rays warms me up slowly, and I can feel the remaining drops of water in my fur start to disappear from the heat. Jake went out earlier to avoid housekeeping, so I had the awkward pleasure of talking to them when exiting our room. I have no idea if Mason is still on the trail, but a short hike doesn't sound too bad right now. The walk will distract me from clawing at my wrists at least, although my fur had thankfully puffed back up when I shook my arms dry with one towel that I had. I wave goodbye to the sun as I exit its tender embrace and head over to the trail entrance. The haphazardly laid wooden planks remind me that I need to hit the gym sometime. I'm already out of breath by the time that I reach the opening of the trail. Sure enough, Mason is crouched by the entrance, carefully handling Silas's camera. I remember both of them being into photography when we were kids, but I didn't know Mason still had an affinity for it. I plant my feet behind the dog and lightly tap his shoulder. His ears twitch when I do so, and he looks back at me, flashing his goofy grin. Just getting some photos of the area in case I need them. Just be careful with the camera, okay? Silas probably paid a fortune for it. Mason just laughs before he sits down, letting his feet hang off the edge of the trail as he snaps another picture of the town. You feeling any better? You really took a turn yesterday. I give a wary sigh, sitting down next to the dog. The unexpected lack of footing below my feet gives me a fright, but I manage to turn my attention to the conversation. Well, I don't feel like throwing up anymore, so I guess I'm all right. The shutter clicks again, this time in my ear as Mason takes another picture. From the direction the lens is pointing in, I guess that he just took a photo of the church. Once he gets a good look at the preview, he sets the camera down on the dirt and puts his hands on my shoulder. Well, that's good to hear. The dog kicks his feet as he flashes his teeth at me again, seeming to be content. He puffs his chest out before letting out a deep exhale. I think I'm gonna get something to drink. Want anything? Mason bounces out of his sitting position into a full-blown stance, picking up the camera in the process, its underside now caked with dust. I shake my head, which causes Mason to raise his eyebrow a tad as he slings a camera strap over his head, wearing it like a messenger bag. I'm actually gonna hit the trail. I need some fresh air. Do you have a water bottle at least? I'll be fine, Mason. I'm not a kid anymore. I tell that to myself rather than him. Mom had babied me enough already over in Texas, and I'm not gonna let my own brother do the same. Okay, just come back if you start to feel sick again, all right? I will, don't worry. I pick myself up and begin to walk into the trees, but Mason grabs my wrist. I flinch and almost attempt to pull my arm out, still a bit shaken about earlier. Wait, this is gonna sound cheesy. What's up? Mason breathes in deep, then exhales through his nose. He crosses his arms, his stance rigid, though he kicks a small rock down the hill as he begins to speak. You remember the day that you reached out again, right? Yeah. What about it? Well, it was actually Dad's birthday. My eyes widen at the revelation. Mason had seemed extremely happy, but I assumed that was just because we were talking again. Yeah, birthdays were hard for him. Well, the both of us, since you and Mom moved. He really missed having you around during those times. Mom, not so much. I stifle a laugh, but Mason looks dead serious about the matter. He brings his hands to his sides, looking straight at me. Dad and I really missed you. You know that? The day we heard from you was the day that I saw the light in Dad's eyes again. Although it was touching, even Mason can't completely hold it in when he finishes a statement. He kneels over in embarrassment while I cackle with all my might. When we've finally calmed down, smiles are planted on both of our faces, and I don't feel awkward around Mason for the first time on this trip. It's as if we had never split up during the Exodus, and we're now just two grown-up kids catching up on the good old days. I do mean what I said, though, even if it was cheesy as hell. You'll have to give me Dad's number sometime so that I can text him once we're not, well, here. I'll make a mental note of it. I wave back at Mason and I head down the trail. It's only a few feet away from the entrance that I hear him shout at me. Your ass! What? You have dirt on your ass! My ears heat up as I hurriedly brush the dust off of my shorts, and all the while I can hear Mason laughing as he heads down to the motel. As he looks back at me once more with tears in his eyes, I playfully give him a middle finger. The dog arches his back in hysterics before he disappears behind the building. Stupid. I chuckle to myself as I descend under the canopy. The sun that I said farewell to earlier is once again leaving. This time it disappears through the cacophony of leaves. The view of the trees distracts me from the path paved with litter and roots. Hot dog trays and half-finished iced coffees have been thrown to the wayside, and my skin crawls when I see the ants. Considering the populace here, I kind of would think that the residents have just given up and have started treating everything like their landfill now. Cool air brushes through my fur as I continue to hike and I begin to regret not bringing a jacket on the trip. I'm half tempted to buy one when I reach a tourist trap, but I don't know if I want a I Heart Silverstone plastered on something I own. I'd probably end up buying more ice cream too, since my cone flew out of my hand yesterday. Truly a never-ending cycle of mishaps. I get lost in my thoughts as I continue down the trail, almost as if the hike is an enabler of anxiety. I start to see more dangerous items amongst the trash strewn about here and there. I almost step on an used needle covered in dead bugs. I begin to speed walk, trying not to run into more dangers as I snake my feet around the misshapen roots. My brain functions zero in on maneuvering around the obstacles in front of me. Chips, soda, needle, chips, hot dog, razor, coffee, soda, needle. The last thing that I want is to be sick again, or to go to the hospital. I'd get a collective earful if that happens. I begin to think that the previous area is just a junkie's paradise since the needles slowly start to disappear from the mud. Any glint of metal that I see sets off alarm bells in my head. However, even a drop of dew gets me at that one point. The trash seems to dissipate as well, minus the occasional plastic fork or napkin blowing through the air. That's when I hear it. Waves. I stop dead in my tracks trying to convince myself that I'm mistaken, and then another torrent crashes against the sand. There is no way that I could have walked all the way from the motel to Silverstone. It is a 10-minute drive to get there. What is that? An hour of walking? 2? I start to regret never getting my license as my math fails me. A sense of relief washes over me when the exit comes into view. With each step, however, the ocean waves grow in volume. It reminds me of my nightmares and just how surreal the environment could get. What seems like a short walk could become an accordion of space and time. The trash and hazards are nearly gone by now, with the scant few remaining just being salt, water taffy wrappers, and loose change. Though the sight of a used condom paints a rather unpleasant image in the back of my head. On that sickening note, my walk leads me to Silverstone's beach. I shield my eyes from the sun as I exit the shade, nearly tripping when I make my way down the shoddy-built steps. The sand somehow manages to reach up to the steps, and I curl my toes as I feel the grains underneath my feet. Thankfully, the steps lead right to the sidewalk in between the shore and the resort. I hastily brush the dust off my feet as I make my way to the pavement before being met by the sorry state of the town. I'd never seen a beach so empty in real life before. It almost makes each cloud that manages to appear in the sky more prominent than it would be otherwise. Although to say that it's uninhabited would be incorrect, as a few residents still roam the town. Most of them still sit outside the restaurants, presumably being too lazy to cook at home. To my surprise, it doesn't take long to find one of my friends. June is sitting on a bench facing the ocean, half asleep as he props his head up with his elbow on the armrest. June! Wait, Zeke? My hail for the badger is interrupted by a familiar voice next to me. I don't even have to turn around to guess who it is. Kelsey and, to my shock, Silas walk up next to me. Thankfully, for the three of us, June didn't seem to notice my call. Silas has another ice cream cone in his hand while Kelsey is holding what appears to be a pamphlet. I preemptively prepare myself for whatever trip she's about to propose this time, a wide grin strewn across her face. When did you get here? You look a lot better. Thanks. I just got here, actually. Took, that there trail over there. Silas attempts to peer around the corner, but the trees near the trail entrance don't help him out. I guess Kelsey already knew about the trail since she barely reacts. I see. Well, glad you're out and about. I am too, not gonna lie. I kind of feel like I ruined your guys' day yesterday. You didn't. Silas's interjection is sharp with precision, much louder than the bear had been for most of the weekend. His expression stays positively neutral, but I can't help but notice his ears turn red as he returns to his ice cream. Anyway, you know how you want to get your memories back? My muscles stiffen as I hear the question. Silas looks down at the both of us, at me with concern and Kelsey with criticism. It's not a lie to say that, but I did want to spend a few days just hanging out with the others before digging everything up. Yes? Well, it turns out that the Silverstone Historical Library is still here. Wait, the one from when we lived here? Kelsey seems proud to have captured my attention, and my gaping mouth closes back to a half-hearted grimace. Exactly. I was thinking that we could go tomorrow if you want. That's a hell of a question to spring, Kels. You don't have to answer right away. You can let me know tomorrow if you want. I'll be heading over by then anyway, so it'll work out if you change your mind as well. Silas's and my eyes meet, both of our arms squished into our sides. Kelsey seems a bit too overzealous about this, even for someone who's a hardcore academic. I'll think about it, okay? No pressure. I'm gonna go look around some more, maybe get something to eat. You guys want to find a place with me? I actually do want to look around a bit, but I'm not too hungry right now. Especially after seeing all those needles and condoms, I tell myself. Fair enough. Silas, what about you? The bear jumps, almost like he's unprepared to answer. He stares down at his ice cream, but Kelsey doesn't seem to get the hint. I'm good. I actually wanted to ask Zeke something if that's okay. Silas's voice quiets as he talks to Kelsey. Both my ears and the cheetahs perk in curiosity, and I try to imagine just what he could want to ask. Anything you want to ask Zeke, you can say in front of me. Kelsey's smile is laced with an insidious air, almost seemingly overprotective. The bear draws into himself and he looks away from the cheetah as he talks through his teeth. Not this time. Kelsey's expression drops like a disappointed parent who's trying to draw the truth out of you after you fucked up. I'm expected a huge reaction, but she walks away instead, Silas glancing over his shoulder and, despite his size, he looks almost scared of her. So, what did you want to ask? Oh, right. The bear fumbles his ice cream, almost dropping it to the ground. His yelling draws the attention to us from the few town's residents. It's almost cute, but... I was wondering if we could talk tomorrow, actually. That's it? I mean, it's something serious. I just, Silas sighs, his exhale louder than the way that he speaks most of the time. He's almost defeated, taking a huge chomp of his ice cream. I playfully pat his shoulder and flash a grin that Mason would be proud of. I can probably make time. Silas's eyes brighten, and I swear that this is the first time that he's smiled on his trip. He licks some melted ice cream off of his hand before looking back at me. Well, just let me know when, okay? I nod and give a thumbs up, chuckling as the bear walks off. If I didn't know any better, I would say that he was skipping down the sidewalk. All of that took a lot of energy out of me, so I look around for a bench to rest my poor body on. That's when I remember. June nods himself awake as I sit down next to him. There is a fair amount of space in between us, but it feels wrong to get too close to him. Hey. The badger nods, his eyes looking towards the ocean. He lets out a big yawn, the volume of it almost drowned out by the salty sea breeze. You look better. Huh? Oh, yeah, that. I guess I just needed some sleep or something. Judging by his demeanor, it seems like he didn't get much. Now that I think about it, I feel groggy as hell, too. June shifts around on the bench, bringing his right leg on top of his left, while I stretch my arms out, letting my shoulders crack as I do before bringing my hands behind my head. The sun paints the ocean water with hues of orange and red as we sit in silence for a bit. There is a pull between us that feels forbidden. It's not romantic, quite the opposite. I have trouble putting it into words, and if I tried, it would probably upset June that I said them out loud. Hey Zeke? I break eye contact from the ocean for a bit when June speaks up. He still stares out into the sea, his eyes glowing from the reflection of the water. What's up? Do you think that it was a mistake to come here? Why? Don't things feel a little bit awkward to you? I mean, things were gonna be awkward no matter where we met. How do you talk to someone that you haven't seen in 15 years, you know? I guess. It's just... It feels like my skin is crawling whenever I set foot in this town. I'm fine at the motel, but here? I just want to get out. I can't disagree with June. My mind returns to the matted wrists from this morning, and I can't help but rub one of them as the badger continues. And it feels like no one wants to rip off the band-aid and talk about the exodus. I mean, I would if I could. June finally turns to me, his face incredulous as if I spiked a volleyball right into his snout. You really don't remember anything? I let out a sigh as I stand, letting my hands drop to my sides. June peers over at me, putting his hands on his knees as he sits upright. You remember when you first moved here? God, don't remind me. Yeah, those kids were assholes. Still, I'm glad that you came. I wouldn't have met you if you didn't move here. I'm wondering where that June is now, you know. The June that I'd ride bikes with to school, or the one who'd play trading card games with me at recess. June's eyelids droop, his face having a frown etched into it. The badger gets up, stretching as he steps away from the bench. You're still with that June, Zeke. People change. Don't let nostalgia blind you like it does Mason. I think I'm gonna find Kelsey and Silas and head back to the motel. June scratches behind his ear, an anxious habit that I remember from elementary school. He tries to maneuver around me and I try to find some words, a thing to say. I get the feeling that he won't like me touching him, so... June, wait. The badger thankfully stops right after he slips past me. He looks back with a crooked eyebrow and his hands in his pockets. I didn't mean to imply anything. It's just... I know. I'm different now. I'd rather talk about it tomorrow if that's okay. I'm just tired. Okay. June waves by to me as he leaves, and my ears fall as I lie back down on the bench. I let out the most dramatic groan that I can muster before shielding my eyes from the sunlight. I guess it was foolish of me to think that everyone was having a positive experience here. I would even consider my own time rather mixed. Still, it feels shitty knowing that June isn't having a good time. I start to wonder why the badger even came on this trip, if he knew that he wouldn't enjoy it. Fuck, this bench sucks. As I readjust myself trying to get into a more comfortable position, I see it again. The cliffs taunt me from afar, the absence of the lighthouse causing an itch in the back of my brain that grows in intensity the more that I stare at it. The kind of itch that draws you in, almost as if you want more of the sensation, the itch you scratch until you bleed. With nothing better to do, I swing my legs off the bench, knees cracking as I stand up. At least, I'll get to solve one memory today. Compared to the trail from earlier, the hike up the cliffs is tranquil. The path is fairly smooth with no roots jutting out from the ground, and it's devoid of trash or anything that could seriously injure me. Memories of the past flood my mind as I continue to walk up, and it's almost as if I can see ghosts of our former selves run up ahead. Mason would tell us to hurry up while June, Silas, and I would try to race him. Meanwhile, Kelsey would take her time walking up, and Jake would be the wild card. Once Mason and I had to go home before we even made it up the trail, since Jake jumped on my shoulders and I ended up with a face full of dirt and blood. I pop out of my nostalgia as I see something that I don't remember from my childhood, a gravestone that's started to collapse on the side of the walkway. I bent down to examine it, praying that I don't fall over and break it as I come down. It reads, "Here lies Jezza Attybury. He still lives in our hearts even in death. December 7th, 1899. The death date is chipped off, though. I'm fairly certain that I see what remains of a 7 on the end. I can't even fathom how we didn't notice this as kids. If we did, we wouldn't have been that bright-eyed, especially here. Before I can think further on the matter, a gust of wind assaults me as I step out onto the open cliff. It stuns me to see just how far from the town I actually am once I make it onto the open grass. The bench that I had been sitting on for a few moments ago is now nothing but a speck from this high up. To be honest, I don't know what I expected coming up here. The itch is still there, but it's morphed from an innocent curiosity into a fervent anxiety. A branch snaps behind me, making me jump into surprise and land in a pose, with a foot still in the air. The shadowed person brushes some of the leaves away, allowing me to see their face. Chill. It's just me. Jake steps out onto the cliff to join me. He's holding a bag of groceries as well as what used to be a six-pack of cheap beer. 2 of the plastic rings are empty, leaving the 4 remaining cans lopsided as the raccoon carries them. He scratches behind his neck, embarrassed, before seating himself in the grass. I got these for everyone, but, vices and all, that. Well, I don't really drink, so... Oh, no shit? Yeah, I went on a bender a couple of years ago when I left Mom's. Let's just say that I found myself back at Mom's. I lie down next to Jake, letting the blades of grass brush my ears as I breathe in the fresh air. It's not long before I feel a bit drowsy, but Jake pats me awake. Yo, your wrists okay? Huh? Oh. Yeah, they're fine now. Don't know what caused that. Mind if I ask something? Shoot. Why'd you come up here? I saw you at the entrance and got curious. Oh, well... I've been having some bad nightmares lately. See, I'm in the town, but it's like a version that you'd see in a horror movie. Shit goes sideways, nothing makes sense. And this cliff has a lighthouse on it. Jake's interest is piqued, a shitty smirk aimed right at me. He leans back, the tip of his fur scratching my nose, before kicking my shin. That's why you came up here? I know it's dumb. Nah, dreams are weird and can make us do weird things. Plus, it brought you up here. Remember the campout that we attended here as kids? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Didn't you have to go to the hospital from burning your hand? That was a science lesson that I really didn't want to learn the hard way. Jake sits up, showing me his hand. There is a scar from where he had burned himself with a metal marshmallow stick as a kid. It grazes through his fur and onto his paw pads, coloring the usually black palm with a light brown streak. If Kelsey's dad hadn't come up here when he did, that could have been really bad. The one-time strict parenting helped someone. The air becomes a bit heavy at that mention of the topic. From what I can recall from our chats, Jake pretty much cut his parents off after he turned 16. After his mom remarried, I rarely saw her or his stepdad. We saw plenty of Jake, though. You good, man? You're zoning out a bit. Huh? Oh, yeah. I'm just a bit tired. Think I'm gonna take a short nap here. You sure? Yeah, I'll be fine. Well, okay. But I'm gonna stay here just in case. I'm not gonna fall off the cliff, Jake. Oh, just go to sleep. The raccoon shoves his hands in my face, and I flail my arms with futility before he backs off. We both laugh before watching the sun start to creep down, my eyelids mimicking its pattern. I can hear Jake lie back down as I start to fall asleep. I just hope that I can have some peace for 20 minutes at least. Zeke. I'm startled awake by the raccoon, whose frantic look concerns me. I wipe my arms across my brow, which has become drenched with sweat. The sky is no longer a vibrant orange, instead being washed out with green and blues as twilight starts to fade. How long was I asleep? Dude, you were out cold. I've been trying to wake you up for like the past hour. You just stayed asleep looking. Jake stops himself, looking down at the grass. It's only now that I notice that he's on top of my stomach. The beer's thrown to another part of the cliff. I twist myself around and Jake gets off. He collects the beers and comes back to me, his hands descending into his pockets. The others should have driven back to the motel by now. We're gonna have to take the trail back there. I gulp as the idea crosses my mind. The image of stepping on the needle in the dark haunts me. Oh, okay. Jake sighs as my voice wavers. I do agree with him somewhat though, since it's the fastest way to get back on foot. Come on, let's go. Beers are warm. Jake walks on ahead of me into the pit of darkness created by the trees. He turns on his cell phone flashlight and beckons me over. You're okay, right? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, just, let me know if something is up, alright? You were as stiff as a board. I tousle my hair, and my left foot lands in the middle of the light. The trail becomes even brighter when my own flashlight joins his, leaving Jake's fur flushed white. I'm okay, Jake, don't worry. Are you alright? Jake covers his eyes as he walks towards me, shielding them from the glare from the phone. He brushes past me and the raccoon I usually see returns as he runs down the trail. Never better. Come on, let's go back already. Hey, wait! Jake disappears into the trail and I nearly trip as I chase him down. Our footsteps are drowned out by the waves of crashing on the shore, and his laugh almost joins them. Whenever I look up from the light on the ground, all I can see are those eyes staring down at me. Jake holds onto my shoulder as he guides me through the trail. The bag of groceries hits the back of my arm and my chest like a pendulum. Despite the light, we still come across surprise obstacles pretty often. Unlike myself, Jake just kicks the needles into the brush as we walk, seemingly fearless. I mentally admonish him each time, air hissing through my teeth with each disposal. The idiot chuckles at my concern, just yanking me through the trash as we reach the motel. We're met by the buzzing of the fluorescent lights as we enter the motel parking lot. Either the owner can't afford to change them, or just doesn't care. Half the lights are already burned out. Mason's face is brightly illuminated by the one near our room. He's sitting on the ground outside our door, nervously biting his nails on one hand while holding his phone in the other. He bounces up as we approach him, nearly falling back as he lands awkwardly on his feet. Jake gives him a wave with his now free hand, and I struggle to hold back a giant yawn. Hey, I was worried when the others returned without you two. The frown on Mason's face places a weight of guilt on my shoulders, and I almost apologize before Jake steps in. I doubt that we would have fit in the SUV anyway. I got 2/3 of a six-pack as well. Someone was gonna walk back anyway. Mason doesn't seem entirely convinced, to be honest. I don't think that it would have worked on me either. The dog lets out a deep sigh before yawning, though, seemingly too tired to argue right now. Well, at least you're okay. The others are actually inside our room now. Huh? Why? Silas and June spotted something in town that they thought might be a bit fun. Well, probably just Silas. What is it? Mason opens the door to our room, the two of us standing there in confusion. After the dog enters, Jake follows and I see him toss the beers onto my bed. I hold up my phone and check the time. 10 p.m. I must be going crazy. It feels like the time here doesn't make any sense. I swear we weren't gone that long. I shove my phone back into my pocket and head to my bed, where the others have already gathered to collect their share of beer. Why is the beer so fucking warm? June looks down at his can of beer with disappointment before taking another sip. He grimaces as he drinks, and I can see a bit run down his muzzle. You can blame this doofus for sleeping so long. Sleeping? Kelsey raises an eyebrow, and I can feel several eyes on me. I leer at Jake, who tries to pull off an innocent look, but ends up looking constipated instead. We went to the cliff where we used to play. I, kinda took a nap? Kind of. You did. Jake pokes my chest as he readjusts himself, laying his head where my feet would be. Meanwhile, Mason and Silas are also shooting glum looks at their beers. It seems like we'll need the car for beer runs. Anyway, you guys had an idea for something that we could do tomorrow? Silas's ears perk up like a kid getting to choose a full-size candy bar on Halloween, while June looks down. I guess he was roped into this rather than being a willing participant. You all know the bar down by the resort, right? Oh, you mean Hurley's? Oh, not anymore. It's called Sam's now. Same owner, surprisingly. Huh, wonder why the name changed. Well, on Fridays they have a 2-for-1 special. Some drink called a Silver Bullet. Bullet? Sounds strong. Anyway, we thought that it would be a fun activity. Go early tomorrow, look around the town while the alcohol wears off, then play some card games here or something. Silas's voice begins to trail off the longer that he goes. His smile turns to a timid frown, but it's quickly erased by Mason patting him on the back. I think that it would be cool to do. Plus, I look up the menu and the drink has a whole story behind it. Definitely a tourist trap, but at least there's lore. Of course the history buff is pulled in with that. June shoots a judging glare at Mason before sipping his beer again. Words seethe through his teeth as he tosses the can into the garbage bin across the room. If everyone else is going, I'll join. Wait, You already said yes, Kels? Yeah, I was there when they found it. I think that it'd be fun. A little prehistorical celebration. I audibly groan at the pun, the only one that seems impressed by it is a Mason, to no one's surprise. Wait, Zeke, you don't drink, right? Wait, really? I'm sorry, I didn't know. I think I can handle one celebratory drink. I still have wine at, weddings and stuff. You sure you'll be okay? Yes, I'll be fine. My irritation creeps through a bit too much, taking Jake aback. Sorry, just checking. No, my bad. I'm just not a kid anymore, guys. Mason rescues me from the predicament, although Jake seems only half convinced. The dog chucks his can at the garbage bin like a basketball, horribly missing his target. That doesn't seem to break his conviction, though. So when should we leave? 10 a.m. good for everyone? Yeah, we would have all eaten and everything. Should be good. Silas and June both nod while Jake gives a thumbs up. I just flash a smile which Mason returns to me twice as large. Alright then, let's get to sleep everyone. Kelsey, June, and Silas pile out of the room. Mason starts to get into his pajamas. Jake fiddles with his phone on the bed before I poke his chest. Hey. Sup. He shoots me a cocky grin before I direct my eyes to the bed. Oh, right. The raccoon scampers off, flopping over onto his and Mason's bed. I throw my shirt off and sit down, staring out the window at the sky across the motel. I barely notice myself falling asleep. I'm at the bottom of the damn lighthouse. It's almost a relief to not have a pseudo-intellectual conversation with that person for once. On the other hand, it's just boring. I get up off the ground and start heading up the stairs. The voices I start to hear are unmistakable, though the words that they say are questionable. I jump when I hear a pistol cock, only to see nothing behind me. What was best? Zeke. What? Next, I'm assaulted by the jeers of what I make out to be an angry mob, their cries calling for blood. Worry, I can fix this. My footsteps bleed away from the cold stone to the crunch of the gravel and dirt. The stairs remain the same, so I accept it as another hallucination. How to be better this way? I didn't think that I was scared, but I can feel my fingers tremble as I graze my hand along the rail, guiding my way through the dark. Do this. Not again. I nearly fall back down the spiraling stairs when a shotgun blast rings from behind me. Despite being just a hallucination, the sounds and voices seem eerily real. Was I supposed to do? I see the top in sight and put forth another step, falling into the abyss once again as the stairs vanish beneath me. I wake up in the midst of falling out of bed. The back of my head nearly hits the wall, and the pain from landing on my rear makes me let out a loud yell. Mason snores as I curl up into a ball, massaging my tail from the impact of the fall. Eventually, I reach up and grab my phone. The screen blinds me for a brief minute before I see the time. 2 a.m. I pull myself back into bed and try to fall asleep again, but I'm wide awake from the shock of it all. I let out a defeated sigh before grabbing my room key and stepping outside for some fresh air. The breeze outside is a bit uncomfortable in my thin pajamas, but at least it isn't as stuffy as the motel room. I occasionally scroll through my text, wondering if the signal ever picked up, but I spend most of my time looking through the trees. But my mind keeps wandering back to the nightmare. Those voices didn't seem like my friends. I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong out of my brain. I try to tell myself that it's just some stupid fucked up paranoia. The yells that I hear from around the corner don't help my case. I just wish that whoever is there would shut the hell up and go back to bed. Eventually, I've had enough and just give up on letting the anxiety pass, opting to go back in. As I unlock the door and enter, I notice something is off. Jake isn't next to Mason. Chapter 2, Schism. I'm actually going to continue reading because this next part will actually be a bit shorter. As I put on my shirt, microwave hums fill the motel room. The sporadic mechanical pops coming from it doesn't instill me with much confidence in its capabilities. Mason pulls the breakfast burrito out as soon as a loud beep quiets the infernal beast, not even hesitating to take a bite out of it. He doesn't even get a chance to smile at his meal, spitting the bite out into a tissue before looking at the expiration date on the wrapper. Cold and rancid. The dog weakly tosses the burrito into the garbage bin, taking a long sip of his soda and gargling. You gonna be okay? Yeah, I'll just order something there, I guess. I swear that I can hear Mason's wallet cry for help at the thought of buying bar food before happy hour. Light bursts into the room as Jake returns. Neither Mason nor I saw him when we woke up this morning. Mason assumed that Jake had just gone on an early morning walk, but I had my doubts. Although I think Mason does now too, seeing the shoulders of the raccoon coat dark and damp. Where have you been? Jake brushes past him to the restroom, turning on the sink as he enters. He grabs his toothbrush, lathering it with spearmint toothpaste before he answers. I went for a swim. Even Mason shoots a judging look at the raccoon, given how filthy the pool was when we last saw it. Jake keeps at a distance, not even shouting back at the two of us. Are you okay, man? Jake nods, though ever so slightly. Foam from the toothpaste is all over his chin and his spit is running down onto his hand. I just didn't see you when I woke up last night or this morning, so... Wait, you woke up last night? Mason's interruption gives Jake an out, turning around, then closing the door behind him. The dog, almost as if sensing my irritation, looks away and takes a long, loud slurp of the soda. Honestly, I don't know how you slept through it. I fell out of bed and everything. Wait, really? Yeah, I'm fine. I checked the time on my phone. By now, we're officially late. I pulled the curtains back a bit, expecting to see the other three standing outside waiting for us. To my surprise, however, neither them nor Kelsey's SUV are anywhere to be seen. Hey, did you run into the others when you got your soda? No, I just got it and came back. Why? Kelsey's car isn't here. Wait, they really left without us? It only crosses my mind for a moment, but I wonder if Jake's uncharacteristic attitude and the others leaving us has anything to do with last night. Our ears perk as the water stops inside the bathroom. Jake steps out, wiping his chin with his jacket sleeve. I ran into them as I was coming back. You did? Why didn't you mention anything? Fuck, I don't know. Slipped my mind, I guess. Hey, no need to yell. Jake crosses his arms, digging a finger into one of them. He kicks the ground with one of his legs, his tail dropped between them. Sorry. I had a bad night. Maybe you two should stay here if you aren't well rested. No, I'll be fine. Let's just get some drinks. As Jake walks out of the motel room, Mason and I stare at each other. I can instantly tell that he's just as unconvinced as I am. He grabs his keys after some brief hesitation, then heads outside to where the raccoon sits, propped up against the truck, with a cigarette in his mouth. I turn off the lights as I follow, a huge lump sitting in my throat as the room becomes bathed in shadows. The silence of Silverstone is deafening even compared to the car ride there. None of us had said a word for the entirety of the 10-minute ride. Mason had tried his best to make an attempt, opening his jaw once or twice as if he was going to speak, but even he was at a loss for words. He pulls up behind Kelsey's SUV where the others are standing in what seems to be their own awkward dilemma. Even if the town had been fully crowded, just their anxious aura is enough to give them a spotlight. I jump as Mason turns the truck off, and he gives an apologetic look. Despite his usual obliviousness, even he is sensing something is wrong. When Jake gets out of the car, he immediately pulls out his pack of cigarettes. He's about to light one when Kelsey storms over, her presence alone being intimidating. You'll just have to put that out when we get in there, you know. Jake side-eyes her, giving an exasperated grunt before shoving the cigarette back into his package. He scratches at his arm, walking towards the back of the truck as the others come over. June looks like he wants to bury himself 6 feet under, while Silas looks as if he didn't sleep at all last night. My own rude awakening doesn't seem so bad now. Mason claps his hands together, trying to alert the others to his attention. He's smiling again, but his eyebrows give away just how fake the attempt is. So, Sam's? Yeah? Oh, right. Well, like I said, it's a 2-for-1 special. So we can get 3 orders of them and we'll be set. I don't really know if... Alright, let's go then. Kelsey starts walking off into the bar, ignoring the Badger's shocked look. Mason and Silence follow, though at a much slower pace. Come on, don't want to keep them waiting. Jake walks ahead, leaving June and I alone for the first time since yesterday. Both of us are more focused on the others to pay attention to anything else, however. Dude, have the others been weird too? I mean, Mason's been Mason. Jake, though. I guess Silas has been alright. Kelsey's been a bitch this entire morning, though. Is there something going on with Kelsey and Jake? Well, on the way up, things were tense. Neither of them will tell me anything, though. We look over to the entrance, and it's a sorry sight. Mason and Silas are looking over the bar's menu posted on the window. Jake is kicking rocks in the street, and Kelsey is scrolling on her phone almost with a scowl on her face. Dude, this fucking sucks. Tell me about it. Let's just get this over with and do something else. I get what June means, but the whole atmosphere just makes me want to crawl back into bed. Even another nightmare would be better than this. Actually, on second thought, never mind. The Badger and I head towards the bar, catching the others' attention. Mason holds the door open as Kelsey, Silas, and Jake enter. June goes in right away, but I look back towards the empty town one last time. Somehow the place that's caused so much headaches is calming me down for once. Mason nudges me and I return to looking inside. The darkly lit bar, blanketed by blue and pink neon lights, is oppressive from the outside. It doesn't feel inviting in the slightest. Despite the unwelcoming aura, I still enter. The door makes a loud bang when Mason lets go of it as he comes in. Our shadows disappear into the darkness as the sun from outside gets locked away. Thank you for playing Build 1 of Silverstone. This is a story that I've had in the works since 2021, so just the fact that you took the time to read it means a lot. We're going to be taking a 2-week break starting on the 16th for the rest of January to focus on our health and other projects, but we'll return to the world of Silverstone in February. Build 2 will begin Mason's route and contain sprite and music updates, as well as implement feedback from readers. We estimate that it will release sometime within the next 2 or 3 months, as it's a much shorter update. Some questions will be answered, but more will be raised. Will we still see you in Silverstone then? Brick Z. And here's the credits. So, as I said, that beginning of chapter 2 was a short. But we kind of get a sense of what's happening and how the group will probably eventually split. Considering that everyone wants to talk to Zeke, it kind of seems that like whoever you decide to actually talk to will sort of dictate how the story will split. Like meaning, you'll go with Mason, you'll go with Jake, you'll go with Kelsey, you'll go with Silas, or you'll go with June. And like, it is obvious that the choice to speak with them is probably the choice that splits the story routes, because it kind of seems like oh hey Zeke, I need to talk to you, but we'll do that tomorrow. And then Zeke is just sitting there like, okay, couldn't you just talk to me right now? Nobody's around. But yeah. Considering that this is a slightly revised version of the first build, because it is not actually the first build, it is technically we added some stuff that was missing first build of the first build. Um, because the sprites for the characters, none of the characters, I think aside from Zeke, had any reaction sprites, so they were all just static. And for the most part, everyone had like, some sprites added to them. But there's still some of them that are missing. For example, Kelsey just has the one. She doesn't have any other reactions. June just has the anxious sprites, and I think Jake and Mason and maybe Silas are the only ones that have like a little bit more sprites added than anyone else. Mm, what else? Um, what else? What else? What else? There's gonna be some more, like they said, more music and some other stuff that is gonna be added, and of course, Mason is the first route that's gonna be worked on. And as I said before, I think in the previous video, well, not the previous video, the first video that I did for the prologue, um, I kind of hope that they stick to writing just the prologue first. Not the prologue, not that they just stick to writing Mason first and then start building out. Like you start with Mason and you finish with Mason, then you start with whoever's next and you finish with them. Why? Because sometimes when you're working on multiple routes and then you're doing what like the smoke room started to do at the beginning of their of working with that visual novel and even Echo, where you work on one, then you work on the other one, then you work on the other one, then you work on the other one. It kind of makes it seem like it's been such a long time since you did anything with that route, since you did anything with the other one, then the other ones, then the other ones. So it kind of, you'll start to lose interest in the characters because then it takes such a long time to work on one of them, or to wait for the development of one piece of one of the routes while the other ones are being worked on, and then like having to wait for that cycle to cycle back to that character, cycle back to that character, cycle back to that character. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a person that just likes sticking to one route and then, moving on if I have to for the next one. And because of this type of story and how it's probably going to be presented, I kind of feel that it might serve the story better to just work on Mason and stick with Mason until his ending. Or what you could do is maybe not have his ending and then, well, actually, no. I don't know how the story is going to progress, so I can't really um be a what's the word? I know it in Spanish, but I don't know it in English. Where you have an opinion on that type of stuff, but like whatever. But like, please, just finish Mason, and then work on the next one. Especially with this type of story where you kind of get little bits and pieces of what's going on by playing each route, that will incentivize people to have to play each route to completion. I think that's more or less what I want to say. I do think that perhaps giving it a once over, because I know that there will be a little bit more edits, writing wise, I think. But giving it a little bit more of a once over to the writing might help. It's not bad written. It's not badly written or edited. It's just there's sometimes when you're reading where it's like, oh, we don't, that there's an extra word right there that you probably wouldn't need, or you could reword this instead. And yeah, maybe just give it another once over. What else? Talking about what happened in the story though, where one of my pet peeves, one of my peeves right now again, is the main character being very emotional. And again, I get it. They don't remember what happened in that last week, so they want answers. But it kind of feels like they're very selfish right now, which again it's understandable because again, they lost 1 week, so they're very focused on that. But like June said, like, dude, I changed. Even though this is the same June that you used to know that you were friends with when you were kids, we changed. People change, and you're kind of being a little bit of a dick about it. And I feel like Zeke's unintentional selfishness, it's what's gonna cause whatever bad things to happen. I mean, even coming back to Silverstone and trying to dig up whatever it is that should not be dug up is it's what's gonna cause the bad stuff. There's even the whole thing where Mason told Zeke, like, oh hey, remember the time where you decided to reconnect? It was actually Dad's birthday. And I was like so happy, and I kind of thought in my head like did you forget your own, I mean, I don't know if it was his stepdad or his actual dad, but like, did you forget that, Zeke? Did you literally just reach out to Mason to say like, hey, you wanna go back to Silverstone? Um, I kind of feel like he didn't actually think about that when he called. And this is just based on how the character is behaving right now, because he feels very selfish, or maybe there might be a better word, but he seems very like he seems just as oblivious as he says that Mason is about what's going on with these people, what's going on with his friends, and yeah, hmm. Anywho, what else? That's all that comes to mind right now. I'm pretty sure that when I'm going to be editing this, I'm going to be like, oh crap, I forgot about that. I should have talked about that. But anyways, so yeah. So what are your thoughts? Do you like the story so far? What are you looking forward to? What do you think about the characters? Et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Write it down in the comments. And thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Silverstone yourself, you can do so by going down into the link in the description, which should have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download the game and play it yourself. And, I think they have some form of support. I don't remember. Patreons. Yeah, they have Patreons. Also, there was more to the credits. But yeah, they have Patreons. So if you want to support the project, or maybe just say like, hey, guys, you could do some of this stuff or something like that. You can do that by, going down to the link in the description, which should have a direct link for the Patreon, where you can subscribe and get early access to builds of Silverstone or whatever. Or there also is the short story. I'm debating about reading it because it is, this Cat's Corner is where the creator talks about the development of the story, but I'm not going to read that. But yeah. The short story is a prologue to Silverstone, and I don't recall what it talks about, but I may or may not read it. It depends, because again, it's not I don't think it's a visual novel. I think it's just like a text document. And well, I do actually like reading like the PDF documents that Ryo wrote for oh crap, for Soul Creek, and then the ones for Chienya. I don't know. It depends how long it is, probably. What else? But yeah, so also all my links in case you want to become a channel member, support the channel, blah blah blah, etc. etc. That will be down in the description, as well as the Ko-fi in case you want to support through there, or what's it called? Throne. Yeah, that one. Anyway, so yeah, I guess that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.